John? See you down there in the chat. How you doing, dude? Hail and good evening to you as well. All right. I don't need this one. Close it. There we go. All right. Monday night book club stream. John, I don't know. Are you reading this, dude? Have you been reading Bad Dog at all? Hey, what's up, Hammertron? All right, guys. If you haven't read it, no big deal. I'm going to lay out my thoughts here. So tonight is pages 109 through 163, which is chapter 17 through 21. If I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. Good read. It's getting spicy, dude. Yeah. 100%. By the way, this is the book, Bad Dog. Loving it. Ashley Pollard kicks freaking butt, dude. She's super good. I think I might be a little far away from the microphone. Yeah, Triode Press. Not familiar with the publisher, but I'll probably check their website out and see what else they got. If they're publishing gangsters like Ashley. I said on the last stream, but once I'm done with this book, Ashley is going to be coming on the stream. It's not going to be on a Friday because she's in the UK. So it's going to be like Saturday morning. For me, Pacific time, it's going to be Saturday morning at 7 a.m. That's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon for her. But, yeah, man, I'm excited for that. And this portion of the book from pages 109 to 163, is that what I just said? Man, stuff goes down. She died in the last one, so we get to see her kind of come back to life. The day starts over. And well, I guess that happened in the end of chapter 16. So now she tried to like alter the plan of the day, and it did. I don't know. I shouldn't say she. Sergeant Laura Tachikoma, who is our protagonist, wakes back up from dying, back in her bunk on the USS Hornet, the Navy amphib boat. And yeah, she's like, well, that was a crazy dream. She thinks it's a dream. And then things start to happen throughout the day that exactly as she dreamed it. Slowly she realizes that maybe it wasn't a dream. So just in case it wasn't, she kind of like, during like the mission briefing, she throws out some suggestions that seem maybe like she's just very intuitive and cautious. Yeah, that is a mech on the cover, dude. So that's called a dog. It's a Marine Corps mech suit. And then this thing, we see this monster in this section of the book. The first time we see it. So I'll get into that once I hit that chapter. But anyway, yeah, she manages to kind of alter the her unit's mission, or like what their plan is, what their loadouts are going to be for the mechs. So and like changing kind of where they're going to land, in hopes that her dream doesn't come true, and her and all her friends don't die. So this. Yeah. But it's not chapter 17. That's not who we start off with. We start off with the Chinese officer. I don't know how to say it. Louis. He ends up, he goes into a cave or whatever, to go meet Yusuf. He's the Afghani warlord. I mentioned him in a previous stream. But, excuse me. And again, she messes around a lot with the timelines. So she goes back. Ashley takes us to this POV, which is after the army team has landed and been killed, but before the Marines have come in. And it shows us the Chinese officer kind of parlaying with not the Taliban, but this Afghani warlord. And we kind of see them, they're like, I don't know, it's a very tenuous alliance, and they don't really like each other, but they're working with each other because neither one of them want the Americans to get a hold of what's under this mountain, in which case it's the Chinese officer Louis calls them the pillars of fear. And we learned from the last section that we read, and more in depth in this section, that the pillars act as like a gateway to other worlds, and the gate or the portal between the two pillars is like a kind of like a pulse. It like opens for a set amount of time, then closes, and then it's about 15 minutes later, it opens up again. But the twist is, it's never, when it opens back up, it's not the same place. So if you go through, it closes and it reopens, it's not going to take you back to where you came from. But we'll, sorry, I got a yawn. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail later. So anyway, yeah, the Taliban and the Chinese are getting together, trying to kind of come to an arrangement as to how they're going to deal with the Americans. We know that Louis, he lost a couple of his men during the clash with the army unit. And he's not super happy about that. But we kind of see like there's a little bit of a contrast between how the Chinese view their soldiers and how the Americans view theirs. So they know that since they killed these army soldiers and their bodies are just, and their mechs are left out there, the predictable Americans are going to come try and salvage their soldiers and their hardware. Whereas Looi is how it's spelled. He's a Chinese officer in charge of like a mech battalion or whatever. But yeah, he thinks that the Americans are predictable because he knows they're going to come in, and they are. They're going to come in and try and salvage those army soldiers' bodies and the mechs. So they plan this whole ambush kind of around that notion. But also he kind of like, we see him kind of reflect that if he died and all of his men died, China would not do anything to retrieve them. And he also kind of gives, I don't know, a little bit of respect to the Afghan. Like he realizes they live kind of primitively, like they're in these caves. They kind of live like peasants, but he knows that they're not stupid. They each like speak like 4 languages. Yeah, no, it's spelled Looi. So I'll just say Louis just to, be easier. Or Louis. So yeah, this chapter basically just shows us the antagonists, and like how they're working together to try and kill the Americans. And yeah, we learn that the Chinese name for their mechs, which the Americans, we call the Chinese mechs ATSs, which is all-terrain suits, and the slang word for them are fatties. We call them fatties. But yeah, the Chinese word is Quijia. Quijia. So take that as you will. Yeah, so by the end of the chapter, they basically come to an agreement where for every like round of artillery that the Afghanis fire off out of their artillery guns, the Chinese will reimburse them 3 more rounds. And they started off like the Muslims, they wanted to get like 6 rounds for every 1 round they fired, but the Chinese officer didn't want to basically help destabilize the region by giving this one warlord so much power or so much ammunition. So yeah. Yeah, and as far as how Louis... Yeah, I don't know if it's Cantonese or Mandarin. I don't know anything really about that region of the world, Hammertron, so I couldn't tell you, but yeah. Yep. He's like a really like wise kind of leader. He's like always quoting like Sun Tzu, and he comes across as like really tactical and methodical. I like him. He's not in a ton. He doesn't have a bunch of chapters, but it's just enough to kind of give us the other side of the chessboard to see like what's going on. But for the most part, obviously the main character is Lord Tachikoma. We see most of the things from her point of view. Yeah, and we don't know where exactly Louis learned that the pillars, because he knows that they're portals to another world, but in the first chapter we see him in, he doesn't know why he's been ordered to go to Afghanistan, and we don't know why, or he doesn't know what is under the mountain that is so important that he's been authorized to use nuclear warheads to stop Americans from retrieving it. But for somehow, in this chapter, he does know what they do. He knows they go to other worlds, and he calls them the Pillars of Fear. And that term seems to, the Afghans seem to know what it is, because when he says, oh, the pillars of fear, all the Afghans get real quiet and they pay close attention to the conversation between their warlord and the Chinese officer. So yeah, it's a good chapter. It's just she actually does a good job of kind of flipping the POVs around, flipping the timelines around, especially in this like kind of story where the timeline keeps repeating because she's living the day over and over again. I don't know. I feel like it's a really patient way of kind of unraveling the plot. I don't know. It's a really cool way to play with time. And when she comes on the podcast, the stream, I'm definitely going to ask her who her space and time person is. That she got all these tips about how the universe operates, because my goodness. Well, okay, I don't know. I don't know, dude. Quigia. I mean, that's not how it's spelled though. It's with a K. I don't know, man. But yeah, that's all I really got for that chapter. It's basically just, here are the bad guys. They're working together. This is what they're talking about. This is the point in time that they're talking, and they're waiting for the Marines to come in. And that's kind of a tenuous relationship. Oh, sorry, I'm so tired. I got a newborn, so yeah, got me some slack on the yawns. My apologies. So then we go to chapter 18. And chapter 18, has anyone in the chat read the book? Before I go on, because I got 5 viewers. Holla at your boy. So if anyone's actually read the book and you got to this chapter, if you're through this chapter, yeah, let me know what you think. I don't really have a lot of follow-up questions for this one. It seems pretty straightforward on that chapter, just the bad guys talking and going through their plan. But I definitely got more things down the road in the other chapters that, if you've read it, I'd love to bounce some theories off you guys. All right, so yeah, chapter 18 starts off Tachikoma, and the Marines land back in Afghanistan. But according to Tachikoma's new plan, so she's fingers crossed, hoping not everybody dies this time. But as they're going, they come back, or they arrive at the cave where they're getting the signal from the Army Rangers, or the Army Pace unit, and she just gets filled with this like overwhelming sense of dread, because it's the same place where in her dream, right? So it's like she's been here before, but like she doesn't quite accept the fact that she's repeating her days. So she's like, it was just a crazy, vivid, very accurate dream. But I feel like this is kind of the point where she's like, okay, this is, something's going on here. Basically, I need to treat this like it's real. And yeah, so once she gets there, like I said, she gets overwhelmed with dread, but she starts taking more precautions and kind of taking more chances to try and not look like a crazy person, but try to keep her Marines alive at the same time. And like you can see her as she's kind of going, which is, it's kind of fun to see this. As she's like going through this repeat day. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Spoilers, by the way. She kind of like, she's like almost like testing her hypothesis to see like, is this really a repeat day? So she remembers what people said the first time. So she'll be like, she'll ask a question and I'm like, wow, I was literally just thinking about that. Or she'll make a suggestion like, oh, I was just about to suggest that. So she's kind of doing that to kind of like test the waters to see if what she's thinking is like, could it really be real that she's repeating the day? And to the point where, like, a lot of times it actually makes her look pretty good to her superiors. Like, they think that she's just a hard charger, very smart, very intuitive, very insightful, and a good planner, good military mind. And she kind of feels guilty about it because sometimes she's actually kind of like with her effort to learn if this stuff's real, she's using other people's ideas that they had the first day and like, oh, and we should try this, because on the first day, she'd be like, oh, I wish I would have thought of that. And so on the second day, she throws it forward. And she kind of like afterwards, after she's getting praised for these good ideas, she kind of feels a little guilty about it. Even though there's a chance that she could die and have to do it all over again. But still, there's like this like wave of guilt that kind of hits her as she feels like I'm kind of faking it. They think I'm better than I really am. But not like a ton. It's a quick mention. Yeah, and then obviously, because she's reliving the day, she gets hit with a lot of deja vu. And like each time she gets that feeling, that like wave of familiarity, it almost becomes like this like frantic feeling from her. She's like, I mean, like if you were in that position, you could see like all this, if this deja vu constantly kept hitting you, especially in that kind of situation, like you would feel kind of frantic, like, oh crap, this is about to happen, this is about to happen, this is about to happen. And the closer you get to the bad thing, the more frantic and dread you would feel. So I think that comes through pretty clear in the writing. Yeah, dude, I'm loving this book. If you guys haven't read it, I super duper recommend it. Yeah, and so by the time when they go in this mountain, there's basically a split. There's two different tunnels. And the first time, they're like, okay, let's split up. We'll search them simultaneously. And she went one way, and it ended up being a dead end. And the other unit went another way, and they got ambushed. So she was like, oh, I have a gut feeling. Can we switch spots to her, to Lieutenant McCarthy? And he's like, well, I never discount my NCO's gut. So yeah, if it makes you feel better, we'll switch. So now she knows that she's going towards an ambush. So she's super sneaky about it. She gets her just a little camera that like, I don't know, pops over the ridge and protects her from getting shot. And it's small, so it's kind of hidden. And yeah, she spots all the Chinese fatties hiding out ready to do an ambush, but they don't see her. So she basically relays the message back to Lieutenant McCarthy. She waits there. She kind of sets up the battle plan. And once he shows up, Lieutenant McCarthy does, he confirms that, yeah, great plan. Let's execute. We also see that the dogs have this cool ability where you can like internalize a message, basically like without having to actually speak. So it's like quiet, you know, and all you have to do is like you constrict the message and then you just touch with your dog, with your suit, you touch another suit and it like transmits just from touching. Like you don't have to like plug in or anything. So that's pretty cool. Little tech, lore bit, schematics. Yeah, so on day one, on the first day, when McCarthy was the one that walked into the ambush, he died, and Corporal Knight died. Now this time, when she knows there's an ambush, and she does her best to set them up to, one, they spot the ambush, everybody knows about it before they go in. They actually surprise the Chinese fatties, and put the hurting on them. Even so, McCarthy still dies. He gets hit, and it's kind of gruesome because in order to get through the armor on the dogs, you need armor-piercing rounds. But the thing about it is, if they do pierce through, a lot of times they don't pierce back out. They just ricochet around inside and basically turn the pilot to pulp. So it's gross. Bad way to die. You do not want to get penetrated, you know? Yeah. Oh, and so Knight doesn't die, but his mech, I think, loses like a leg and he gets knocked out. So a little bit better, you know, he didn't die this time, but it's still, and this is kind of a theme that's starting to happen. Like, I'll talk about it. I'll get to that later. I'm not going to mention it right this second. Oh, excuse me, dude. That's so unprofessional. Yeah, so she's kind of in this position where she doesn't really know what's going on. She's starting to come to grips to the fact that like her crazy thought of what's happening might actually be happening. And though she doesn't know why it is happening, she's going to make the best of it. So she clearly has this advantage in this crap situation, and she's going to do her best to try and make sure that her and her fellow Marines don't die. She comes off, and this just keeps going down in the later chapters, but she's very resilient. Sergeant Tachikoma is. She's very resourceful. She kind of gets, when she gets into these bad situations, she kind of has this mentality to just do like, what's the next thing I can do? What's the next accomplishable task that I can knock out? And I'll do that, and then I'll go to the next one. And that's kind of how she keeps herself calm. And I'll probably hit that a couple more times throughout this BookClub stream. And then, so they wipe out these Chinese fatties. They go down into something like that. Touching vibrations. The ouch. Rough. That'd be a bad way to die, dude. Just getting turned to pulp inside your mech from one bullet. Good Lord. Like how many times does that have to go through your body to do that much damage? But anyway, she goes. So another thing about her, so the first time she died, that first day. So this is day 2 we're on, just to kind of keep track of how many revolutions we're doing here, okay? So the first day, the first time she died, she went into the room, and her crew came, or her unit came into the room with the pillars, and when the portal activated, everybody freezes except for her. She doesn't know why, but everybody freezes except for her. And she accidentally touched the pillar. This is from my last stream. It's not from these chapters, but when she touched the pillar, she had like this flash of like her life, not just her life, but like every possible avenue, every decision she could have ever made, and like multiple timelines. This is crazy like vision that she had when she touched it. But that was even after she realized that that was after she wasn't affected by the portal opening while her squad was. So we don't know exactly why she's not affected. So going into this one on day 2, she has that memory of all these different timelines and choices and consequences. And she looks at her squad kind of moving about, and she kind of envisions them as like automatons. And gets a little philosophical here, and it kind of gets into the themes of the story, which is she kind of wonders on things like causality and free will. And this is a line, this is from the book, from this chapter. It says, if everything we do is a result of an endless chain of casualty, everything is determined. If this isn't the case, then everything we do is random. And so this starts coming in a lot more, especially as the days repeat again, and you see like how hard it is to actually change the timeline or what happens. Even when she completely herself tries to change things, the people around her still kind of end up falling back into the same timeline, the same river of time, whatever choices. So it does kind of call into question, is there actually any free will, or is everything determined? And this plays off really good with how she's opened the book with talking about how monotonous a day. I'll get into that later. Don't worry about that. I'll get into that just in a little bit. Never mind. It's my next note. This ties into, as I mentioned, on the first stream I mentioned there was a line in chapter 2 that kind of stuck out to me, and I mentioned it, and I wrote it down, and I brought it back for tonight because it definitely has come back to play a factor, whatever. So, like I said, this ties into that line from chapter 2. She gets to the brain fart. She gets in line at Chow, and she basically gets to choose. She gets to point and choose what foods she wants. And she didn't say it out loud, but the line in the book, it's not dialogue. Is just being given a choice is always a good thing in my book. And this line was immediately followed, like scene description and like the a whole part of how monotonous and repetitive, and even the word Groundhog's Day was used, of ship life. So the stuff just comes back and weaves together really nicely. Like, this is some literary level literature here, dude. All right, so we go into chapter 19. So they've gone into that room with the pillars, and boom, the pillars open, the portal opens, everybody but her freezes again, and she looks through, and it's a world she hasn't seen before. It's like an ice planet, just like barren wastes of ice. And her squad, she can like see their faces like on her HUD. And so she says they all look terrified. But she's like drawn to the pillar, and she finds herself walking through it, and on the other side, on this barren wasteland of ice. And even once she goes through, she can still hear her squad like in her comms, and she like calls back to them. I couldn't quite tell from the writing if they heard her respond or not, because they didn't like say specifically that they heard her. But when she responded to them, she said that she heard them talking amongst themselves. So I don't know if that means they heard her and they're like, "Where is she? We heard her voice. Where's she at?" I don't know. This is where she first wonders, like, why can I move and they can't? So she's starting to think about these kind of things and starting to realize that she's different and kind of special, maybe, and maybe this happened to her for a reason. So as she's like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't stay out here in this super cold planet. She starts to walk back to the portal, slips, falls, portal closes, and she's stuck on an alien ice world. That's not a great spot to be in. Yeah, I'll just follow the order of my notes. I'm not gonna jump ahead. Yeah, and as the portal closes, as you would probably expect, the comms cut out. She can't hear her squad anymore, and she feels very alone and engulfed by silence, as the book says. And as she's kind of sitting there, like, what the hell's going on? Now, so she already noticed that there's like a 15-minute interval, right? So she's still making her way back to the pillars. I don't think she doesn't really know or realize yet that when it opens back up again, it's not going to take her back to where she was. But anyway, she makes her way back over to the pillars, and she's kind of like wondering, like, what the hell made me do that? Like, that was really stupid. And you get the sense that, like, that's not her like normal operating procedure. It's not something she normally would have done. Seems like, I mean, we already said like something kind of drew her in, but like she's also aware of it now. Like, what the hell was that? That doesn't make any sense why I just did that. So she's like aware something had influence on her. So she stands there. The portal reopens. It's a cavern again. She goes in, but as soon as she does, all of her like vents in her suit close up, and warnings are going off saying that the air is toxic. So she dips out, goes back out to the ice planet. And it's like every place, so this happens a lot. She bounces, she goes through the portal a bunch of times. And basically what we see is the pillars are usually either put in a place that's deep underground, or that is in some, like, if it's on the surface, it's like some open, super inhospitable place. So like a desert or the ice planet, whatever. There's a couple places that it's like, oh, this is actually kind of nice. But get into that in a second. And then we also kind of get this, I don't know, actually does a good job of like building this dread, because her suit, like, it doesn't just run forever. It runs on fuel, and doing certain things drains power. So having to run the AC in a hot world, that draws power. Having to run the heat on a cold world, that draws power. Having to seal up the suit and run off your oxygen draws power and depletes your oxygen reserves. So basically she's sitting there going from like through these portals from planet to planet as she slowly watches her reserves of power and life support systems just dwindle, hoping that out of all the worlds that these portals could possibly connect to, she manages to get back to her world, before she dies or her suit runs out of power. But anyway, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit there. So she came out of the toxic cavern. She's back on the ice world. And this is where like her suit pings and it detects motion on the horizon. She looks, there's this like black cloud moving towards her. And after a couple of moments, she realizes this thing's moving fast, dude. It is moving with a purpose and it's coming right for her. So she basically goes into attack mode, starts shooting at it. Regular rounds just go right through it. It's a cloud. She equips these like sweet explosive rounds, like missiles that blow up once they hit not necessarily on impact, but once they reach their target, like their smart rounds or whatever. Those seem to react with the cloud, but they don't seem to slow it down. So nothing that she has seems to be working. Meanwhile, this thing is like pegging her with, that sounded bad, pinging her with like EMF and these like electrical pulses, and it's like taking a bunch of her systems offline. You can see systems going from green to amber to red, going offline. Her mech is quickly becoming useless and getting hammered by this weird thing. So she runs around the pillar and like hides behind it for cover. The cloud like swoops around and starts like sending out little cloud tendrils and like grabbing into her armor. And then she shoots like a grenade off at it. Doesn't do anything. But the portal opens and it seems to like repel the monster, the alien. This thing. Yeah, so it like as it gets repelled, it takes on kind of the form of her dog. Oh, sorry guys. Her dog. And yeah, creepy. That's actually, hold on. And so the whole concept of that theme of choice, this is another moment where that kind of comes back. We see she's got an alien in front of her. She's got the portal behind her to a world she doesn't know. So here's the, not the dialogue, but here's her, it's first person, so her inner thoughts. For a moment, I'm frozen on the spot as a chill of fear takes hold of me, and I seize my window of opportunity. The choice to go is mine. That's what I tell myself to rationalize my response to the fear as I step through the darkness. So yeah, once again, kind of playing on the idea of free will and causality. So she had this monster that she can't hurt in front of her, and a portal to probably a dangerous world behind her. Did she really have a choice? I guess she could have stayed and let the monster kill her, but yeah. So she goes through the portal, and she can still see the monster, the alien, on the other side of the open portal, but it's not coming through. And it's not till the portal closes that she feels she kind of relaxes a bit. But yeah, once again, she's really playing with this free will and choice theme. I like it. While she was on that ice planet, her suit, which is probably not going to be a surprise, her suit could not identify the stars in the sky. They did not come up. So basically her suit has a catalog, I guess, of it would know any star system that is visible from Earth. So if sometime in Earth's history anybody cataloged any star system, I guess her suit wouldn't be aware of it, which makes sense. It's probably just hooked up to something. Who knows? Big database. But anyway, so she's like, that's just for the proof. Not that she probably had any doubt, but just for the proof that she's not on Earth. And she kind of reels from that realization, and that these pillars are opening portals to entirely different worlds. And I don't know if she's really I don't know if it's in the same galaxy, if it's in the same universe, same dimension. I have no idea. I'm assuming it's in the same galaxy, but I have no idea. Who knows? Mm-hmm. And then when she goes through this cavern, she again knows that she's not on Earth. Even though she's underground, she can tell from the gravity and how light and buoyant she feels that she's not in Afghanistan. She's not even on Earth. And she kind of like sits there and chills. She kind of goes from like being panicked to determined to kind of excited sometimes. She's like, dude, if I had a flag, I would plant it. I'm like the first person in over a century to step on another planet, which I don't know if that's a reference to the moon. I'm not big on like, because this takes place in 2071. So that'd be like the 1960s. That's just the moon landing, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So I didn't know because like she said, called the moon a planet. Is it considered a planet? Like stepping on a planet? A woman? Yeah, she's a woman. But lost my train of thought. Yeah. Yeah, and she's like, oh, I'm the first person to, first human to step on. What did she say? Oh, the first person to ever walk on 2 planets. So I don't know, dude. I'm gonna mess that one up. But anyway, so as I mentioned earlier, she continually keeps hopping back and forth, going through these different portals in the hopes of getting home, and her time is slowly ticking down on her energy reserves. And eventually, she comes to like a paradise. Like she could survive outside of her suit here. And she's like, okay, if the next place opens up is another cavern, I'm going to turn back around and come back to this paradise and just try and use my survival skills to keep getting by. However, when she goes through when the portal does open back up and it's a cavern, or I don't know if they mention, I don't think they actually say it's a cavern. It just talks about how it opens and she goes to go through it. And as soon as she does, like her world shatters into 1,000 pieces, and kind of the same thing where she first touched the pillar. It's like all these different avenues of timelines and all these things happen. And then everything goes black. I'm going to come back to this in another chapter. 1969. So that's probably what they're talking about, what she's talking about. Just threw me off because it said planet. So I don't know if the moon was considered a planet or not. I mean, it's considered the moon because Pluto's not a planet anymore, right? Chapter 20 is a real short chapter. It's basically just it's Captain Johansson, which is her CEO of her company, and so he's kind of in the position she was in on day 1, but now on day 2, as far as where he is when the mountain go boom. So he's coming back out of the cave, sees everyone he had stationed outside the cave mouth is destroyed. There's Chinese fatties everywhere, blown to bits. And that's really reminiscent. That's exactly what Tachikoma saw when she came back out on day 1. So now on day 2, he's in her place. Everyone's dead. He's the one that now gets in touch with the CIC on the Hornet, and same thing. CIC says, shelter in place, stay inside the tunnels to avoid artillery fire, and we'll come get you when we can. But before that, they're like, okay, roger that. And then they feel the ground rumble, the walls crack, and the mountain comes down on top of them as the Chinese set the nuke off. So, yeah, it's a short and sweet one. It's kind of just showing like how, even though she changed things around, things still pretty much happen the same way, even though some of the people were moved around. And we get a little bit of his like character. We see him, he feels really guilty about, not guilty. He feels really sad, and not really sad because he's a Marine. I got to get back to work, but he does feel sorrow, and he's sad about Lieutenant McCarthy dying because I guess they were like really close friends outside the Marine Corps. And then one of his soldiers, one of his dog pilots, gets killed, gets her head blown off by a Chinese ambush while they're moving into the tunnels. Gets her head blown off, gentle dog. So he feels guilty about that. And then that's about all we really see out of his. We see a little bit of his tactical thinking as he's like retreating with his people because they're way outnumbered by these Chinese fatties. So we kind of see how they fall back as they're firing, fall back onesie twosies. I don't know the proper term. I forgot what it said in the book. But yeah, that's really all his his POV shows us. And I feel like it's kind of, so far, I'm getting the feeling that maybe it's more like the scales of fate or whatever are more lean toward causality, where things are determined. You might be able to move some things around here and there, but for the most part, some things just don't change. So I feel like we're kind of going in that direction. Let me go in chapter 21. She wakes up back in her bunk again on the Hornet. So now we're going into day 3 of the repeat. This is where you're kind of like, it seemed like the way the story's written, and she kind of mentions it, did the bomb going off and probably destroying those pillars that she originally went through, did that kill her? Is she like connected? Is that why when she tried to go through that last pillar or whatever, she just like died? I don't know. That's my guess. My guess is a lot of this has to do with the pillar, like, obviously. But as far as why she died, I think it's because those pillars got blown up. That's my guess. And her as a character, she also starts to believe, she's like, I think these pillars are connected. Because she had the thought, she was like, the bomb went off, but like, why would it kill me if I'm not even there? That's like a thought that she had. So that's why I think, that's probably Ashley dropping some breadcrumbs for us to pick up. So yeah, I think she's tied to those Afghanistan pillars. Obviously, I still don't know what's causing her to not freeze, because she already didn't freeze before she ever touched the pillar. As far as her dying, I think it's because she touched it. And somehow now she's like linked to it. Like I said, she believes that this is kind of happening for a reason. She's kind of starting to, I don't know, treat it like it's like a tool, gives her an edge. She just wants to save her Marines. And yeah. And we see like a lot of like character development here. Not a lot. We see this just in the beginning here. She kind of reminisces on lessons that her dad taught her. So she says, doing something is better than doing nothing. So it just builds this idea that she's this resilient person. She's just going to do whatever it is she can do. Even if it's a tiny little thing, she's going to do that. And it really helps to keep her focused and not becoming hopeless and not becoming miserable, and moving forward, even in like desperately insurmountable situations. So I really like Laura's character. I think she's a rad Marine. And there's another saying she references from her dad. It says, know what you can control, know what you can't, and be happy with that. Which, I mean, that's a good nugget of wisdom that, you know, I've heard it rephrased in other ways. But yeah, it just kind of helps us to get a better idea of who Laura is. And I like it. So in this morning, on day 3, she kind of wakes up pretty moto. She's like, this is the best part of this day. I'm going to go get my food. My Marines are going to be happy bullshitting at the table. And she goes in like in a good mood. Because she's trying to, not that she's like excited about the day, but she's trying to soak up this moment. Because this is like, and she says that like the day's going to get worse from here. This is the best part of the day. And so she's like, I don't know, she allows it to make her happy and kind of soak it up, which I thought was pretty cool. And it seems like she's kind of accepting the fact that even if she dies today, she's probably going to get to do this again. Yeah, and then she's like going through the chow line and getting her same choices. Yep, that's a great movie, dude. This book reminds me a lot of that. Because like in that one he got like, I don't know, some alien juice in his mouth, right? And that's basically what was allowing him to stay alive, or not alive, but like we died, he'd repeat the day. And it wasn't like if he got like a blood transfusion, and it like took the power away, right? Such a good movie. And the fight scenes were killer in that, dude. But yeah, anyway, this, like I said, this theme is coming back of things don't change. No matter what you do, things pretty much stay the same. So she kind of has this thought, or she has just, whatever change happens, some things remain the same. Again, that comes up, and it's probably going to keep coming up again and again as she, I don't know how many days she's going to repeat, but yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how many different ways she tries to change the day and see how similar it stays. And then they go back into the brief with the CIA agent. And this time, because she's already heard the brief, so she doesn't actually need to pay that close attention. She's heard the brief twice now, so she doesn't need to listen to Mr. Anderson, the CIA agent, super closely. So she's like paying close attention to him, as far as like, not his words, maybe his mannerisms. And she's like, on her pad, Googling, I guess, the area that they're being ordered to go into. And she like looked up, like, have there been any reports about magnetic anomalies in the area? Because that's what the CIA detected, and that's why they're going. That's why originally the Army team went in there, was to go check out that magnetic anomaly. So basically, after he finishes his spiel, he asks for questions, and this is kind of her plan to kind of see if she can get him to squirm a bit, right? Get the spook to squirm. So she asks him a bunch of questions that seem extremely intuitive and tactical, like a tactical genius kind of thing. And to the point where the CIA agent's like, do you know something I don't know? kind of thing. But she's able to, like, shoot the way she asks the questions, she's able to kind of play it off with, if I was the bad guy, this is what I would do. And that's why I'm asking this question. All right, dude. Burn Enough. By the way, guys, I just started following Burn Enough. He's got a killer YouTube channel where he does it's all military sci-fi books, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, go check him out. Burn Enough. Ooh, yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the spook. Yeah, so she gets him like wrong-footed, and in so doing, impresses her CO again. Now we see, so she impressed him last time on day 2 with her intuition and trying to change up the mission parameters. Now, on day 2, he was impressed with her, and he told her to come to his office, and he's like, I want to put you in, or I want to send a recommendation letter for you for a commission. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. She didn't want to be an O because she's a sergeant. She didn't want to like go become an officer and they have to start back at the bottom. So she's like, I like being a sergeant. I have authority. I have people under my control, my command. She said, if I go become an officer, then I'm going to be the bottom of the totem pole again. So on day 2, she didn't want to, but on day 3, when she goes in and he's like, that was great. I want to put you in for commission. And she's like, yep. Okay. Doesn't balk at it. He's like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, let's do it. And I'm like curious. I'm like wondering, like, is she doing these things to try and see if like changing just random things throughout the day will kind of have these micro actions might have a macro effect kind of thing. Like if I do these little things, if I change enough little things, will it change enough big things or one big thing? I don't know. And same thing, she does it after she leaves there. She goes and she like, just to like, with talking with her crew, like her Marines, like conflicts they were having. She approaches them from a different angle. She'll ask a person who's about to ask a question. She'll be like, hey, what's on your mind? Like she just does all these little things a little bit differently. So I'm kind of curious as to why, if maybe that's why she's doing that. But anyway, that is basically the whole section I read today. That's the end of chapter 21. Right? 21? Let me double check. Yeah. Hammertron says, hi, Burn Enough. I know you're working, so maybe you're not watching the chat. But, yeah. Hammertron, did you end up reading Land and Sea yet, dude? Yeah, dude, I'm blown away. This is a really good book. Like I said it in a previous stream. I saw that Blaine Lee Pardo had reviewed it on his blog, and he's like, yeah, it's a great read. So I went and checked it out. Super happy. Like there's some books I read, I'm like, okay, that was enjoyable, or I don't know, maybe they're not that great, but they're not bad enough for me to DNF. And I'll just kind of, say what I liked about it, say maybe what I didn't like about it. But honestly, this book it's so good. It's really great. And I think she's like, just beyond like being good at writing scene and action, she's really good at playing with themes. And this theme of free will and causality is really cool. And it's like with the repeating day motif, whatever. Yeah, it just plays together so well. And she weaves it together in a really cool way. But yeah, that's all I got for my section. Yep. Anybody want to talk about anything else? Been about an hour, which is about as long as my streams go for these things. Tell you what, if I could get someone else to come on here, it'd probably go a lot longer because I could bounce. What did you think about this kind of thing? Oh, you know what I could do? I could tell you guys what book I have lined up for my next one. So it's called, I put a feelers out on X and just like kind of asking for recommendations for the next book in this series, or not in the series, on my stream to read. And I got a lot of authors reached out, but one that kind of stuck out to me because the author was nice enough to tell me that my YouTube links weren't working on my X, so I was able to fix that. But not only did she not necessarily like shill or spam me her book, but a lot of other people hopped in and were like, yeah, you should definitely check this book out. She's being modest. It's a great book. So it's called Starlight Jewel by E.L. Lyons. Yeah, pick that up on Kindle. Gotcha. Yeah, dude, I got one of my buddies sent me a John Delarose book. The Nano Templar, I think is what it's called. So yeah, that's the one book of his I got. Haven't read it yet though. But anyway, yeah, Starlight. I just forgot what it was called. Starlight Jewel, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's gonna be the next book I read. So March 30th, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me look. March 30th should be my interview or my stream with, I think it's an interview, yeah, with Ashley Pollard. Yeah, March 30th, 7 a.m. Pacific. And then, not that Monday because I don't want to, that'd be too close, but so that'll be April 7th will be my first book club stream with that new book. So if you haven't got it already, it's 99 cents if you have Kindle. If you have a Kindle, if you want to read an ebook, the ebook is 99 cents. Basically free. I mean, let's be real. So yeah, if you want to just ahead of time prepare yourself. The reason I like to do the book club is because this book is not what I'm like currently reading. I do 50 pages because it's easy for me to knock out a quick 50 pages on the side of what I'm actually reading. So if there's like a book that you're curious about, but you don't want to stop your normal, reading list, and you want to just have something that's kind of easy to munch on the side, that's kind of why I did this. I wanted to be able to take a book in small little bites and kind of drag it out and maybe go over it with other people who, like to read and talk about books. So one, obviously you can participate in the chat, but if there's anybody, that wants to come on and actually be on the stream as a guest and we can just talk about books, DM me on my Twitter right here and let me know, because I would love that. I would super, super love that. Talking to myself, sure, I'm getting a little better at it, but it's not as fun as talking to somebody else. But yeah, man. Anyway, I think I kind of got sidetracked. This is not a book that I'm like struggling to get through. That's not just okay. This is a great book. Highly, highly recommend it. Starlight Jewel sounds interesting, from Hammertron. Yeah, dude. I heard it's like they tried to tell me it was like the author didn't, but it's not like a full-on romantasy, but it has like romantic elements, which is fine with me. But it's like a dark fantasy. So I'm definitely want to give it a try. The fact that I got so many people saying, check it out, it's great. Yeah, that usually, unless they're just being overly nice and they're friends with the author, maybe. But I'm prone to think it's probably pretty good. So I'm excited to give it a try. Da-na. Yeah, the problem with like all my not the problem, but the issue, like the reason I can't like reach out to friends that live near me is not a lot of them read like I read. They're not as big of nerds as I am. I'm just glad that I got some that are nerdy enough to play video games, because I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have any nerdy friends play video games. But yeah. Or you know, I'm a stay-at-home dad, so I have more free time. Not free time, but it's easier for me to read a book than for them. Yeah, I'm excited to check it out. And then I don't know, dude. I think I'm kind of gonna go towards maybe like more independent or like not as big. I guess I don't know how big an author is, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe independence for these book clubs, or definitely. Actually, yeah, I don't know. Just basically anyone who's gonna reach out to me on Twitter, I'm probably more likely to do their book for the stream, just because I don't know. Authors that are big probably don't need, like, I don't think Ashley needed my help from this tiny little stream, but not that other authors do. It's just, I don't know. It just seems cool to try maybe some smaller authors. And then to have them on the stream too. Which obviously is like, because if they're smaller authors, they might be more likely to respond to little old me and come on the stream. But yeah, dude, Ashley is killer. I think on the first stream I had about her books, I think she's a BattleTech author. I'm pretty confident she is. So she seems like a veteran in the mech genre. But yeah, man, I think that's all I got, guys. Kind of want to keep hanging out though, because I'm tired and it's nice being out in the garage. How was your guys' Monday? You guys can't hear my furnace, can you? My furnace is like right over there. It's over there. It's going, but I don't know if you can hear it. It might be because I have a condenser mic, and I think you have to be like in front of it to for it to hear. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna read that one and Burn Enough Orders of Magnitude by Yuval Kordov. I think I'm just gonna read that and do a review. Because you said it's pretty short, right? So it might take like, how many pages is it, you think? Because I do about 50 pages a week for this book. But Yuval, okay, so not only does that, what'd you call it? Incense punk sound rad. Super up my alley. His Dark Legacies trilogy. Like the cover, all of his covers look super good. I know you kind of on your video, you did a tribute to the cover artist, which was cool. Am I writing my own book? I am actually outlining a book right now. I took a quick break because a short story competition kind of opened up. So I'm refining a short story right now. I'm going through the second draft, and I'm gonna run that through some readers and try and clean it up, and yeah, see if I can submit that thing, dude. But yeah, the book I'm writing is I'd say it's a military sci-fi. It's basically communists won World War III, destroyed the planet, went and occupied the rest of the solar system, colonized it, and I don't want to describe it. I haven't smoothed out my elevator pitch yet, but basically, like, the solar system is divided into different sectors. Even though it's like one main government, there's like presidents of each sector. And so there's like the lunar sector, because Terra is like gone. It's a wasteland. They use like special nukes. I like tried to figure out some. I did some work with AI to like ask questions. Like, I know that a regular nuke, like if we nuked the world with the nukes we have, yeah, it would destroy everything, but it wouldn't. It's not like Fallout where it would be dead for centuries upon centuries. So I was like, I need a fictional element or something that would make my nuclear winter last for centuries or millennia, something like that. So anyway, Earth is gone. It's just a wasteland. The only thing it's used for is there's a bunch of mining facilities all over the place. They do like, so World War III was called the Green Wars. basically, because people started going to war over resources to make batteries for all their electrical devices, like electrical cars, all that stuff. So cobalt, lithium. So that's all that's left on Earth, and droids basically operate those mines. And because it's communism, there's a lot of civil unrest, and so I'm giving spoilers away, dude. That's not civil unrest isn't, but if I go any further, I'm probably gonna give a spoiler. Anyway, the communists, it was called the Solar Union, is the name of this government, and they basically during the Green Wars, they had this super long plan to try and create a super soldier, basically like dystopian future, kind of like a RoboCop, where they take the brains of like Spec Ops soldiers that they managed to recover before. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, dude. Bad stuff happens to the brain that's not viable. So anyway, they've been collecting samples for a long time. The project, it's called Project Revenant, has not been going well. It's really hard to put a human brain in a robot and make it work. So basically, like in my story, it's taken them almost a millennia. Did I do millennia? Yeah, to actually get this project close to working. And most of the solar system has, like the different sectors have basically nixed it. Like, yeah, we're not doing that. That's a waste of time. The lunar sector is the only sector that's actually, they didn't really keep pushing forward with it, but they never canceled it. It's just kind of one of those things that's on the books. And anyway, so there's a civil unrest. I keep almost giving a spoiler in my story. Anyway, these Terrans, so they thought that the world was, I suck at this. I really need to work on an elevator pitch. This is taking me forever to explain this. The Solar Union thought that the world was completely uninhabited because it's not safe for humans to be on the surface. However, the millennia after the Green Wars, a lot of there's like this simultaneous worldwide attack on several, not all, but a lot of the mines. And maybe I will do. I haven't really. I'm still doing the outline, so I'm not like none of this is like in written in stone. And even once the outline is written, I'm not slavish to the outline. But anyway, so yeah, there actually are Terrans, and they still live, but they ended up going deep underground, and they have this like completely different kind of technology, and they found some cool organisms down there that allowed them to have different kind of power. I'm going way too far. Anyway, basically, super soldier brains put into robots, and you have super soldier robots that go down to Earth and try to kill people in a wasteland. Something like that. I don't want to go into all the intricacies of what I'm trying to work on. But basically, yeah, it's a dystopian future. Solar Union sucks. It's space communists. Anyway, yep. Have you heard, Hammertron, have you heard of Orders of Magnitude that Burn Enough is talking about by Yuval Kordov? Sometimes I have a really like stuffy nose, like all the, just from being in the Navy, the pressure in the plane messed my nose up. So I don't breathe that great through my nose. I'm kind of a mouth breather. And I talk fast, so that I don't remember to take a breath. Sometimes I run out of breath when I'm talking. You know, what can you do? Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I don't know. I think I might have to close it down, guys. I got nothing else to talk about. You guys want to watch crazy things on the internet? Yeah. If definitely check out Burn Enough's YouTube page. If you're still watching Burn Enough, correct me if I'm wrong. Is your I don't know, your avatar, I guess, that you have in your videos that like changes position, is that a Hero Forge mini design that you kind of like put in all the different poses and then like save the image? Because that's such a good idea if that's what you did. I'm not I don't know, a skilled editor or whatever, so all the cool stuff you do in your videos, I don't have that. I don't got that going on. All right, guys. Yeah, that's all I got. I'm trying to extend this forever. Anyway, if you came in, yeah, Hero Forge, nice, dude. If you guys came in and watched, thank you guys so much. I will be back again next Monday. If you want to get this book and, chime in with your thoughts on it, it's going to be probably, let's see, what did I say, 163. So it's going to be page 164 to, turn it. You know what? I think I got it in my calendar. I don't want to count. What's the day? Today's the 3rd. 164 to 214 is going to be next week's page range. So if you get this book, you want to read to page 214 and hop in, let me know. You probably don't, because at that point it's not really a side book anymore, and you're going to be committing a lot of time to get through that. I mean, it reads pretty fast. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's a quick read. It just flows well, and like, it's not like the words aren't like super clustered, right? It's not, they're not packed in there. So it's a fast read. So you could probably knock out 214 pages, in a night, depending on how much time you have to devote to it. Nice, dude. Yeah, I do KU. I read a ton of books on KU, just because it's nice to be able to download it, and not have to worry about spending money to buy books. But I do like to buy I'll buy used books, or I'll spend gift cards to buy new ones. But yeah, anyway, you guys have a good night, and I'll see you next Monday. Deuces.